Bord Gosh energy, hurling to the core.
Roscommon had to fight for it, but Dr. Hyde Park does host the first provincial decider of 2018. And for the third year running, it's the Rossies against Galway in the Connacht Senior Football Final. But before we get to that, we have the battle for places in the Munster Hurling Final. Our main focus is on Clare against Limerick and Ennis. And they say that familiarity breeds contempt. Well, in the cases of these two, it tends to breed a few other things as well.
What a fantastic sight it is here, packed to the rafters.
Well, what you're about to watch is a little bit of history.
Great rivalry, of course, between these great neighbours. And Limerick win back the Munster Championship. David Fitzgerald, here's the goal shot fired for Clare. He scored! Clare were the Munster champions. They came, they believed, they knew they could conquer, and they've done it. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out, he's a chance to score. He's put it high, he's put it over. And the All-Ireland champions out. Absolutely wonderful. Goodness, just listen to the roar. It's been tough, it's been competitive, but it's been fair.
Expecting a real tribal atmosphere in Ennis. Tickets have been sold out since last Sunday. The word doing the rounds is that several thousand were sold after the final whistles in Thurles and the Gaelic grounds. Limerick, Cork and Clare all have a chance to make the Munster final. Limerick are top, so a win or a draw against Clare will do them. Obviously Clare and Cork know a win will do them as well, but there are lots more permutations that could come into play throughout the afternoon. Hello, it is one of those great rivalries in Munster hurling. Clare against Limerick, the winner assured of a place in the provincial final. It throws in less than 20 minutes. We'll also be keeping you up to date with what's happening in Thurles, where Cork look to book their spot. They're playing Waterford, who of course are already out of contention. Liam and Henry will take us through it all. Don't worry, I won't ask you all the various permutations. But this new format has already thrown up several different things throughout the course of the past few weeks. And then you have the strange possibility that a draw can get a team into a Munster final.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the championship, everyone would have loved to be in this position today, the three teams that are already there. So it is a little bit strange, but I think the game we're going to see now, it's a winner take all, and that's the attitude both of them want. They want to win a Munster Championship to get back to that final, that big day in the calendar. So I think for anyone else, they will take positives whatever happens. But I think for today, it's about winning the game.
Of course, there is a chance a defeat could even do Limerick as well. But as Henry says, they're not even thinking about that, especially when it comes to this rivalry, because you do often think when you're thinking hurling rivals, you think Kenny and Tip, you often think Cork and Tip, but this one is so special as well.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I suppose go back to the last time they've played in Ennis is '93. And, it was a massive game that day. I mean, Clare always, over the years, back when I was growing up, when you went to Ennis to play a championship game, it was a really, really tough place to win. And I think that's what Clare will try and create today in their own backyard. But Limerick could have done a number of them on them early on, because I think they've managed to get a lot of tickets. So there's, this could be 50-50, even 60-40, because the one thing about the Limerick crowd is when they have a team to follow, they will come in their droves. And I expect they'll be in Cusack Park in Ennis today in their droves. So we just hope that the match lives up, because the build-up and a packed stadium in Ennis really makes for a massive Munster Championship game today. And
when you say 60-40, you're saying in favour of Limerick fans?
Yes.
We shall find out. Let's pay our first visit of the day to Cusack Park. Our sideline reporter in Ennis is Damien O'Mara.
Good afternoon, Joanne. I don't think Lim Sheedy is far off the mark because there is plenty of green when you look around the stands here. The wind is blowing a gale. It's not quite the weather that we would have hoped for, but the anticipation levels are through the roof. And we've had that really unusual circumstance in particular where, due to maybe the hunger for people to get a good vantage spot this afternoon, we've had effectively what is a full house even since the start of the second half of what was a scintillating minor match, won with a late 65 by Limerick. So the scene is set. We've got both teams out on the field of play here warming up in advance of the senior game. So let's get a check on how the teams will line out and say good afternoon for the first time this afternoon to our match commentator, Ger Canning.
Thanks very much indeed, Damien. Yes, local rivalries, they say, always spice up a contest. And we have about 19,000 people in right now. Some of them have come in as early as 10:30 this morning. Quite remarkable. Let's check on the team news. It's been a very solid return to goal for Clare's number one, Donald Toohey, after a 4-year absence. The half-back line shows change with Shane O'Morey replacing David Fitzgerald following his impressive second-half display in Semple Stadium. Peter Duggan was heroic in Clare's first win in Thurles against Tiff for 90 years. And a start this week also for Podge Collins. It couldn't be otherwise, really, after his tour de force last Sunday when he struck 3 superb points. Opposing them will be a Limerick team with Nicky Quaid in goal, playing his 29th championship match. Limerick's half-back line has knitted together well, with Declan Hannon returning to action last week, having been injured in the early minutes of the draw with Cork. Wing forward Garrod Haggerty got his first ever championship goal against Waterford last Sunday, on a day when Shane Dowling returned to action and scored 15 points. Back to you, Damien.
Thank you very much, Ger. I'm joined by two men who know exactly about the heat of battle between these two sides, Ger O'Loughlin and Kieran Carey alongside me. Ger, if I can force you to be nostalgic for a minute, it's like the glory days all over again. We're back to what's effectively a Munster semi-final and maybe those games that played out in the mid-90s between the two counties.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you see Clare and Limerick come together any day in a match like this, you know, you have a serious atmosphere and a special atmosphere. And I think today is no different. We you know, there's been a build-up to this, like where people working in from Clare in Limerick and vice versa, and you can sense the tension around, if you like. But you know, what a fantastic way to spend the Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon now. And you know, I think it'll be a game. It'll be a game like as Liam Sheedy said, if the tension and the anxiety from the players don't get too much, it should be a very good game.
Kieran, you're still dining out on the point from 96. You'd love to be back out there again. Are you envious of what you see in this Limerick team this year?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, I suppose 96 we're getting huge mileage out of that now, Damon. I think it's time to pack that one up. But like, look at the present crop. Of course, looking at the fields in top class. The reason you hurl really is for local derbies, whether it is Innis or the Gaelic ground, yeah. So it'd be fantastic to be out there. But you know, today, you know, at the end of the day, strip away all the circus stuff. It's a semi-final of a Munster Championship. Winners take all, and you know, it's going to be very hard to call. Have Clare really pushed on since 2012? I don't know, I have my doubts, and I think there's a bit of movement in Limerick in the hurling. Definitely in the last few years it's simmering, and it seems to be coming to the fore this year.
You've obviously got your nephew Cian Lynch at midfield, but considering the expectation and the hype that's growing around Limerick, is it more important for Limerick to press on and win today and make a Munster final?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. As you said about Cian, to be fair, he was there for the last 3 years. I suppose the expectations would be extremely high at the time. He's hurling extremely confident, he's hurling with freedom, and I think he's kind of dictating how to play at the moment. He's after finding his place. I think it's in Limerick's hands today, actually, whether to win or lose. And definitely the wind will play a factor, but the weather after changing, the way it's after changing, I think it will suit Limerick because they're physically stronger and bigger.
Throw-in is fast approaching. Gentlemen, enjoy the game. Thank you very much for joining us. Kieran Carey and Ger O'Loughlin with us. Events here, obviously people will have a keen eye on events at Semple Stadium as well. We've got Waterford in action against Cork, and there for us, Gary McDonough.
In Michael Brick Walsh's record-breaking 74 championship appearance, Waterford makes 6 changes from the side that lost in Limerick last week, including Ian O'Regan, who comes into the goal in place of Stephen O'Keefe. Owen Cadigan starts at centre-half back for Cork, his first championship action since 2014. A win will guarantee Cork a place in the Munster final. Can Waterford pull off a shock in what could be Derek McGrath's last game in charge of the Daisha?
But it's Dennis we are going to stick with for most of the afternoon, and we've already had so many classics in this Munster Hurling Championship. We're only minutes away from finding out if we're about to have another.
Centra. We are hurling.
Littlewoods Ireland, proud sponsor of the GAA Hurling Championship.
Welcome back. Less than 10 minutes to go till throw-in between Clare and Limerick, and also until throw-in between Waterford and Cork as well. Liam, let's get to a man who's already been mentioned, and he's been mentioned several times this year as a possible early contender for Hurler of the Year. What is it that Cian Lynch brings to this Limerick side?
Well, Cian, it's amazing to think he's only 22 years of age, but in the championship to date, he's got 8 points already. But the game I'm going to focus on to analyse Cian is the Cork game, because to me it was I suppose the biggest test that this Limerick team has faced to date. And this is in the first minute, so obviously they're looking for somebody just to settle them down. And at first, Kyle Hayes, and that's something that Limerick do really well. Their forwards are working really hard. But here's Cian getting on the front foot and banging the ball over the bar. Straight away then the whole team settles, because that's your first score and you're away from home. And here's his other midfield partner, Darragh O'Donovan. He's been very, very effective as a partner, because he gets through a huge amount of work. But Cian is just all the time buzzing around, and again, as soon as the ball breaks, he's onto it. Now this is in the 26th minute, and Aaron Gillan is after being sent off, so they're down a man, and this is a huge statement to say, look, if we run at these guys even though we're down a man. And again in the second half there was periods there where it looked like Cork were going to push on, but again Seamus Flanagan does really well, but Cian is all the time making himself available. And just watch his little step here, just one step, bang, over the bar, a great score. And again, just his final point that he got in the game, watch it here, you know, midfielder, here he is, he slips, but his ability to get away, but he doesn't just blaze the ball down, he flicks the ball in where Limerick are inside, and another midfielder would say, right, that's it, job done. Not Cian. Cian goes through, takes the break. Seamus Harnedy didn't step with him, and he bangs the ball over the bar. And look at this, I think this sums the guy up. He's shown great leadership. He's only 22 years of age. I suppose in the current game, as the game is evolving, midfielders are struggling to get on the ball. But Cian Lynch, the way he reads the game, I think he's been exceptional to date, and he's a big player for Limerick.
And I think he uses the ball a lot better now, Liam. Before, he was trying to take too much out of it. I think he's matured. I think he's put on over 1.5 stone since he joined the senior setup, so you can see that he's physically developed as well. But he uses the ball very, very well, and he's in the form of his life at the moment.
How do Clare counteract him, though? Because if he's played such a big role.
Well, I think, you know, in Colm Galvin, there's a guy that can... But I think they will have to come with a plan for Cian Lynch today, because, you know, his ability to get up the field and support the inside forwards. And Limerick forwards at the moment, they're not thinking individual. They're passing the ball back and they're finding him, which is a really, really good sign to this Limerick team.
But from Clare's own point of view, in attack, we're used to hearing the likes of Podge Collins, who's come back in, Shane O'Donnell, but it's two other men who've caught your eye this year.
Yeah, two big, physically strong men in John Conlon, who's having a brilliant year so far. And this is what John Conlon does very well, physically very strong. But watch him here, he gets possession, he ducks his head down, he uses his strength then of his elbows to push away the Waterford defenders, leaves two of them in his wake and buries the ball in the back of the net. He's been man of the match against the first game against Cork. He was man of the match against Waterford in this game. Again, physically very strong. Here he is, he sucks in 3 players and releases the ball out to Conor McGrath. Last week, full forward, they were struggling against Tipperary. This is his signature score, up strong in the air, shrugs off Seamus Kennedy. And I suppose Liam won't want to look at this one again, but Jake Morris, the defining moment of last week's match, Shane O'Morey gets the ball, but this, he hadn't a brilliant game last week, but what he did very well. And just watch this, we slow it down here. This is the strength of the man. He blows Dunamara out of it, takes Seamus Kennedy, but has the speed of mind as well to release Podge Collins with a hand pass. And that was the final moment. And this other man, I suppose Anthony Daly has spoken about him a few times in this programme, but I think this year, in the last couple of games, he's really blossomed, is Peter Duggan. He went for the goal there. Pádraig Marek did very well to get the point. But this is the defining moment. Again, we talk about game of inches. There's Shane O'Donnell stretching for the ball. But I think this shows the desire, the confidence that Peter Duggan now has. He's been a very good club hurler. He's now starting to show that form and the inter-county scene. He shoves Seamus Kennedy out of the way. And just watch this, Joanne. Just pushes out his hand and says, this is our day. And the audacity of going for the score, I was like, what are you doing that? And it went over the black spot. So, you know, and he's taken the frees as well this year for him. He scored 13 points last week, some very difficult frees. And they've struggled, Clare have struggled with that in the past. So those two players have been massive for him.
Before we go over, I want just 2 words from each of you. Who are going to be the Munster finalists this year?
Limerick and Cork.
I'm going with Clare and Cork.
Oh, it'll be interesting. And don't worry, if anything major happens in Thurles, we will let you know. But for now, it's time to join our commentary team in Ennis, Michael Dignan and Ger Canning.
Thanks very much indeed, Joanne. Well, they may be meeting for the 4th year in a row, but there is no denying the hurling attraction of neighbourly rivals. When the draw was made, we were all still hoping, of course, that this would be a match of considerable substance. Well, it is. The crowd I mentioned earlier packing in here from early morning really into the town of Ennis. Very, very difficult to get any bit of parking around the town. Loads and loads of people congregating in and around Cusack Park from around 10:30 this morning. Everybody eagerly looking forward to this, because both these teams have got the winning habit, Michael, and no one wants to bow the knee to the other right now.
No, Jared, what an atmosphere. I know from my playing days coming here, it was always a massive atmosphere, the Clare crowd, but the Limerick crowd in here as well today. And Liam was saying earlier, maybe even more Limerick people than Clare people. They got their hands on their tickets early. But just a brilliant atmosphere. We had a minor match there beforehand, which was absolutely brilliant. Hard to believe, 17-year-olds. Limerick came out on top 121 to 217, an absolutely brilliant game, and the crowd were in for that, which was great to see, because these young lads deserve that. So look, at brilliant atmosphere, all to play for. We had rain, we had mist, we had wind. It seems to have just settled down now with the sun coming out, and look, I'm really looking forward to it. I fancy Limerick by a point or two, but Clare, as I say, hard to beat here.
And the pitch is in tremendous condition here. During the very, very long dry spell, they were watering it regularly there, and it does look absolutely ideal. The minor match before this, Michael was talking about it there, it was an absolutely wonderful game. Full credit to both the under-17s. Eventually, Limerick prevailing by the minimum, so they go on to the Munster final against Tipperary. Clare bow out. And right now, before the senior action gets underway, there's going to be a moment's silence here in Cusack Park. It's first of all in memory of the late Rory Kiley of Fina Kilmina GAA club in County Limerick. Rory held many positions in a long and distinguished career in the GAA, and that included, of course, he was Limerick County Board Chairman. We know him as Munster Council President and Central Council Delegate as well, and he was also a selector back in 1973, a link there with the last Limerick side to win the All-Ireland back in that year, 1973, and more recently he was Limerick's GAA President at the time of his death. And also they are remembering here Father James Minogue, who played senior hurling for Clare between 1949 and 1951, and Michael Fogarty as well. He was an active member of the Crusheen Club just out the road from here for over 40 years, passed away recently. Yeshlov Day Garev and Nonam Nuka Ursel. Vian from St Patrick's Pipe Band in Tulla in County Clare. It is Limerick who won the toss, and they have opted to play from right to left in the first half, which means they are going to be playing against the breeze. There's a tremendous sense of atmosphere in Ennis. It's mid-June, it's Munster hurling, there's a place in the final at stake, and the weather is improving the whole time. The man in charge is James Owens from Wexford. He's got Alan Kelly and Sean Clear on the lines. Match gets underway. And as always, something great is expected when these two counties, such great rivals, go into action. Declan Hannon straight away, lobbing it all the way down towards Shane Dowling. A very trim-looking Shane Dowling goes across there, pursued by Patrick O'Connor, the Clare captain. Enterprisingly back, very enterprisingly back to Tom Morrissey. Morrissey advancing, and the referee has given him an advantage, and eventually nothing's coming of it, so it's got to be a free in instead. Well, that was some pass and some bit of imagination from Shane Dowling, and fortunately from a Limerick point of view it worked out.
Yeah, well, look at Shane Dowling, great player for the last few years for Limerick. Had a great year with Napier when he came back from injury this year, but just shows you the strength of the Limerick panel. Couldn't get into the team. Aaron Gallan in brilliant form during the league, and then he got suspended, and Shane came in the last and scored 15 points, 13 frees and 2 from play. And you just saw the confidence there to switch that ball. And in fairness to Tom Morrissey, super catch and took on his man. And this is a nice free for a free taker to get, a fairly straightforward one early in the game.
And incidentally, he is just 2 points in his championship tally short of 200 in all. 10 goals and 168. And that one he has... They're unsure. It did look a little wide from here.
Well, I was going to say, I put the commentator's curse. It definitely was wide, and they're not sure in there now. And James Owens wouldn't want this straight away. We've had a bit of controversy, obviously, with umpires already this year, and that was, to me, it was definitely wide.
The breeze didn't do him any favours, that's for sure, but now it has been flagged wide, so the first Limerick wide of the day. Well, it's one Shane Dowling will want to put behind him pretty quickly.
Yeah, and worth mentioning again, there is a nice breeze there blowing into his face there. Limerick playing into the breeze. They won the toss and opted to play into the breeze in the first half.
Donald Toohey ready to puck it out. Goes across to his left-hand side as far as Jack Brown, the man from Ballyea. Way down, 20 metres from the Limerick goal. Taken in here. John Conlon, leaving it behind him, however. Trying to win it back there on the 13-metre line. Eventually coming across to try and take it for Limerick was Diarmuid Burns. Conlon persists, however. Very, very tight situation. Eventually he holds on too long, and it's going to be a free out for Limerick.
Yeah, Ger, interestingly enough, this is going to be some battle. Here's Diarmuid Burns coming out. John Conlon wins it back, but we're going to have some massive individual battles today. Mike Casey and John Conlon, and we don't see too often, but every player lining out has selected in the positions that were picked in. And Diarmuid Burns took a step out over the line there, short free taken to him.
The pass wasn't the best from the goalkeeper, Nicky Quaid. I think Diarmuid Burns wasn't expecting it. He's having a word there with Alan Kelly from Galway. But Alan was on the case immediately, so it's going to be a sideline cut at the end of all of that. And the man who's taken it there, Tony Kelly. Back in here as far as David Reedy. Back towards Kelly. All the way back, Cathal Malone. Outside the 45-metre line, striking it and putting it to the left and putting it wide apiece.
Yeah, you can
start.
Yeah, nervous start. I was just going to say, you can sense the nerves, and not surprisingly, like this is what this new round robin was designed to do: bring massive crowds to these venues, provincial venues. You have that today, and while it's a Munster semi-final, it feels like a lot more. It just feels like with the local rivalry, with the Clare and Limerick supporters in here, huge pressure on both sets of players.
Well, it looked like it had gone wide, but the referee has called back the play, and he's given a free in to Clare. Obviously he was giving an advantage, and now it's Peter Duggan's turn to try and open the scoring here from just inside the 45-metre line. He's got 110 against Waterford, 15 points against Tipperary last week. He was the hero then, and he started the action here pretty well. This is the foul.
Yeah, Cian Lynch just giving away the free late tackle there, and well picked up by the referee, good advantage, and then he pulled it back.
From the puck out here, Limerick trying to hold possession. Coming in to try and take it there was O'Donovan, but again won it back by Clare and by David Reedy. Down into the corner, Conlon lets it run on there for Shane O'Donnell. O'Donnell stealing a march there on the quarterback, Sean Finn sending it in, and that finally does become the first wide of the match by Clare. The last one, of course, ended up being a free instead.
Yeah, well, this guy to me is, he makes this full forward line take. He's so pacey, his work rate is unbelievable, he throws the ball around, but the slight Achilles tendon injury, he's scoring. He doesn't have the confidence at times to take on the shot. That was an easy chance, and put it wide from a good angle.
Nicky Quaid landing this one in the middle of the park, rising up for David Reedy. All the way back here as far as Conor Cleary. Into top of the right, John Conlon going out there, taking his man Mike Casey out with him, trying to make an angle for himself. Very useful looking shot, very fine point indeed. Good start by John Conlon. Right from the word go, he's been in the thick of the action.
Yeah, and a lovely bit of footwork out in the middle of the field there by David Reedy. He lost to Hurley, flicked the ball back to Conor Cleary, played a lovely ball in, and this is what this man can do. He can score 5 or 6 of these in any game, and Clare will be delighted with the start. Reedy and the full forward line looking very lively so far.
Cleary goes across to try and win that puck out from the Limerick goalkeeper, but it's an opportunity now to advance. And taking this ball forward here into the corner was Seamus Flanagan, the UCD student. Carried out over the line in the end by Seamus, just 20 years of age, one of the rising young stars of this Limerick team, about whom there are so many great hopes being built by Limerick fans. Been waited a long time for a side to win the All-Ireland. We were mentioning earlier 1973, there last year. Just 4 years since they last won Munster. It's been 20 years, mind you, since Clare won the Munster Cup. That's what they'd love to do this year. They have this opportunity of trying to get through to the final. Taken here by Dan Morrissey, pursued vigorously by Reedy, trying to stall his progress. Morrissey does well, throws it back as far as Graham Mulcahy, back here as far as Tom Morrissey, trying to split the post. He looks like he's got it right on cue and beautifully over the bar. A lovely point by Tom Morrissey.
Yeah, that was a great score. Graham Mulcahy, who has won his place back in the team this year as well, lovely little flick out, and Morrissey with a great score, and that Limerick needed that to settle him.
So it's 2 points to 1. Here comes Cian Lynch, carrying it forward here. Tony Kelly's after him. Lynch, great hook. Oh, well done by Tony Kelly that time. Timed it superbly. Nothing rash about it. Just absolute perfection. In as far as Cathal Malone. Running into traffic in there. Cian Lynch comes back again to try and win it. Trying to link up with Kyle Hayes. Hayes, the youngster, just 19 years of age. Back as far as Dara O'Donovan. Towards top of the left this time. Coming out to try and win that for Clare was their captain Patrick O'Connor. Eventually it is Shane O'Morey. A little block on it there by Graham Mulcahy. Has done really well to get back into this championship team. Referee allows play to continue. Eventually signals that it's got to be a free. And it'll be a free to Clare inside their own 45.
Well, Jerry, we're seeing a passage of play there, I suppose, which a lot of modern forwards, like some great hooking there. Tony Kelly followed Cian Lynch back 70 yards back to field, and you saw Graham Mulcahy with a great block down. That's featured. Here's Kelly's hook, just fantastic the way he worked back down the field. Two brilliant players at the top of their game.
So it'll be Donald Toohey who will take this. Tony Kelly, the one who made that superb intervention just moments ago. Toohey, his side 2 points to 1 in front. Conlon going across to try and take it and win it. Holding off the challenge, such a strong man. In there should be the quarterback, Richie English. Did enough to get that ball away. And now carried further out of danger here. Declan Hannon towards Flanagan. Unable to control it immediately. Back here was taken by David McInerney. Into it here comes Podge Collins, trying to hand pass it. Eventually the referee is calling back the play, and he's got to give a free into Clare. And there is a Clare player injured at the moment. I think it is Shane O'Morey.
Yeah, heavy challenge there with Seamus Flanagan coming out to the ball, and a hard hit, and Shane O'Morey, you just watch it here now, he got it, I think he maybe got a knee, and you see him straight away. He stayed down, didn't get back up, and he looks to be in a bit of trouble.
Having just got himself back into the team, he was left out of the side, you may remember, for the match against Tipperary last week, then brought in around half-time, and he absolutely excelled in the second half, gave Clare a really big boost in Thurles. He was the second half driving force from wing back.
Yeah, he was. I think his pace is such an asset, you know. He's able to get up the field, and his vision against Tipperary was brilliant. His use of the ball, and he's back on his feet.
Dr. Padraig Quinn there on the left-hand side, and the physio making sure that he's 100%. Jerry O'Connor, part of the joint management team with Donald Maloney. From that, it's gone over the bar. So well hit by Peter Duggan, his second pointed free of the match. And Clare have taken a 2-point lead here. Nicky Quaid. Worth remembering that Clare have the advantage of a breeze for the opening 35 minutes. That was Garrod Hagerty. Infield as far as Kyle Hayes. All the way up towards Shane Dowling. Coming out to try and win that duel was Conor Cleary, who looks to be playing full back. An opportunity for Clare, for Limerick to push forward here. And in the end, the referee giving them the free in for that foul on Graham Mulcahy.
Jerry, I thought that was soft enough. If you look at Graham McCahey, he's held up here. Maybe they're used to the arm again. It's Conor Cleary, that left hand, a little pull back, and to be fair to the ref, there's a lot of defenders now use that spare hand, and it comes across, and it's hard on the refs. I know the crowd from a distance can't see it, but if you look it up close, little tug of the jersey, and well done by James Owens, right up at the play.
As you say, it's something that vast majority of people viewing from around the park here wouldn't be quite attuned to, but former players, people who've played the game at the highest level, they know all the tricks. Here comes Shane Dowling, 20 metres out. His first free was from further out, went to the left-hand side of the goal. He hits it enormously high, but he hits it accurately this time, and he puts it over the bar. So a first for the day for Shane Dowling, the 25-year-old from the Piershig.
Someone down to town after getting that.
They go short, Clare, out as far as Pat O'Connor, and O'Connor down through the centre, batted out by Declan Hannon, the centre half back for Limerick. Collected here by Garroyd Hegarty from St Patrick's, and he hits it to the right hand side, and a chance has gone astray, and that's a second wide. First wide from open play by a Limerick player.
Yeah, great block. That half-back line of Limerick's, I've seen them a few times during the league and in the championship. Dermot Burns, Declan Hannon, Dan Morrissey, huge men, and they've dominated a lot of games. And just at the start of this game, Clare's half forward line had been dragging them out of position, allowing ball to get straight into the full forward line. So I think they'll be looking, particularly in this first half, playing against the wind, they'll be looking to keep their positions there, and maybe for the midfielders to pick up the runners.
Just out of shot there. I was looking at Donald Maloney, the joint manager, asking Shane O'Morey, was he okay after that knock? And he's indicated that he is. Right now it's the turn of a Limerick player to receive some attention, and that is Dara O'Donovan, I think, from Doon, the 21-year-old. Or is it?
Could be Sean Finn.
It's Sean Finn. It is Sean Finn.
Looks like he's in trouble.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to have to leave the fray after only 12.5 minutes. And that's a big blow for him, because he's been having a very good season. But they've got a more than able deputy to come in here in Tom Condon from Knockaderry. So it'll be Tom who comes in. So in for Sean Finn immediately. And he's gone straight in to mark Shane O'Donnell. Out here is Shane O'Morey, challenged by Tom Morrissey, giving it back there as far as Conor Cleary from St Joseph's Milltown, in over the head of Hannon this time, collected by John Conlon, dished off as far as Podge Collins, trying to hold on to it, surrounded by Limerick players immediately. Podge in the thick of the action, picking it up here is Conlon once again, looking to his right hand side. John Conlon crashing into the nearest defender, and the referee decides that this was a foul there on the part of the Limerick man, and it's going to be a free in instead.
Yeah, you watch Conlon here now, he's so strong, and Tom Condon was facing him. He had no choice, just see the left hand up high again, and clear foul.
So another opportunity for Limerick to get the next score.
And just looking there at the puck outs from Donald too, he's pucking them to the full back line, and the idea is they're trying to get their second ball then long over that half back line, straight into the full forward line. That one dropped a bit short, but good work by Podge Collins to work it out to John Conlon, and this is a straightforward free. But it's interesting, they're trying to bypass that half back line.
Peter Duggan has been Clare's only scorer so far, all from frees, and every one of the three coming from Peter Duggan, and the teams are level. Or correction, it's 4 points to 2. 4 points to 2. And there's going to be a change right now, and coming on for Clare will be the number 19, David Fitzgerald. And on in place of Shane O'Morey. So 4 points to 2, Clare leading the match. This spills out into the middle here. An opportunity for Dan Morrissey to try and take possession here. The man in the blue and yellow helmet wins it. Was fouled after he managed to take that one up.
Yeah, David Fitzgerald just on high arm there again, up into the head of Hegarty and or of Dan Morrissey. and Shane Dowling coming out to take the free. And interest now with the substitution he does it back. David Fitzgerald will be disappointed with his display against Tip taken off, but he's a very good hurler on his day, and maybe he's more suited physically to marking, maybe Tom Morris or Garrett Hegarty. He's a big man, and he's in there. And Tom Condon, he'll have to deal with the pace of Shane O'Donnell. He's actually switched on to Podge Collins, which I think makes a bit of sense as well.
So Shane Dowling next, having pointed a free already. This is his third attempt and his second success.
That's a fantastic strike after missing a much easier one from out here on the left hand side. That's over halfway into the wind, and he just curled it in lovely.
So now it's 4-3. Donald Toohey dropping it away down there towards John Conlon, sailed in over his head and in over Mike Casey's head as well. So it'll be a line ball for Limerick. And Limerick having had to make a change in their full back line. Clare having had to make a change in their half back line. Tough on Sean Amori, having just made his way back into the team. Tough as well on Sean Finn, having to leave the action here so early. That wasn't the greatest one. It's picked up by Colm Galvin, and Galvin sets it in and puts it over the bar. And Clare have got another point. This time Colm Galvin. Second point to come from open play for Clare. Great point by Galvin.
Yeah, Darragh Donovan went back an awful long way to take a line ball there in his own half back line and poked it straight out to a midfielder who put it over the bar. Doesn't make any sense.
He scored from a line ball against Waterford last week, I seem to remember. This time it is Shane Dowling. Ball out of play.
He did, Ger, but that was one up front. Dermot Burns is there who takes a good line ball. It's back in his position anyway. It's gone now. That's been called back.
Hannon being called back. Everybody being called back. In the end, it's going to be Darragh O'Donovan who takes this one. Under 21, we're in 2015. And that was a side, of course, coached by John Kiley. And I know he had an awful lot of faith and promise in these young players at that stage, and they are certainly maturing well. Cuts it up nicely, up here to Tom Morrissey, trying to make some inroads. Not going to be easy. He was fouled there by Clare. It's a little bit ragged at times, this match so far.
It is, Trevor. It's the same foul all the time. Like, see the hands in again, and there was no panic there. Clare had plenty of defenders around the ball, but Tom Morrissey, he was clever. He cut back inside, he drew the free, but it was poor defending by Clare, and just foul after foul, and the game is very stop-start in the first 17-18 minutes.
So once again, it's going to be Shane Dowling, six-time facing Clare in the championship, and he's scored a total of 40 points, including the two today so far, against Clare opposition. And there's another one, high up into the air and over the bar. All three of his points coming from frees. 3 out of 4 converted. So 1 point the margin. Donald Toohey, first time facing Limerick in the senior championship. Down towards Peter Duggan, the usual recipient from those long puck outs. Back there is Dan Morrissey. It's Duggan who would have been marked by Morrissey. Getting forward here, a couple of other players coming in to challenge him, most notably Mike Casey, but it's still Duggan sticking to his task in there, creating some mayhem, helped out by Podge Collins right on the end line, and the referee eventually decides it was a foul by one of the Clare players, and it's going to be a free out for Limerick. Back there to help out was Cian Lynch, as you saw.
Yeah, you had Dan Morrissey back there, Cian Lynch. Mike Casey came away from full back to close him down, and Lynch won a great ball there. And that's what Limerick want. They want Clare pucking that ball long down and breaking, and a whole lot of men in around it, and slow it down against the wind, which suits them.
Nicky Quaid takes this one. Colm Galvin tries to break it down. Onto it very quickly and very strongly is David Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald! He'd love to score, he may well have done so. What an introduction to this championship match by David Fitzgerald. Omitted because he wasn't at his very best in the first half last week against Tipperary and Thurles, but my goodness me, he's putting down a marker.
Yeah, well, he has that sort of ability. Brilliant score, and off to her like that from the sideline. Brilliant point by David Fitzgerald.
From the puck out here, this one is taken over by Jamie Shanahan, under pressure. went off Shanahan. It's going to be a Limerick sideline cut. And once again, the man who's going to take it will be Dara O'Donovan. They're facing Clare opposition for the second time. Cuts up nicely, it's travelling well, moving in towards the goal, Dowling in to take it. Well hit, and eventually it comes out, and it's McInerney who's got it. McInerney hand passed it out to Fitzgerald, and there's an opportunity for Clare to begin the counter-offensive immediately. Nicely down here. David Reedy coming across to take it, ball still in play. Tom Condon wins that. The Limerick substitute plays it in field here. Kyle Hayes leaving it off towards Dowling once again. O'Connor was trying to reach for it. Patrick O'Connor goes back, wins it this time. Challenged by Garrod Hegarty, helped out by Jack Brown. Away to the wings towards Jamie Shanahan. On here it comes towards Colin Galvin. And Galvin down into the corner. Brilliant position taken up by Podge Collins. Closing in on him is Declan Hannon. Hannon trying to win that battle. Podge trying to help it as well. Tom Condon comes in eventually to aid, to win, to play the ball out to Diarmuid Burns, and Diarmuid Burns from Patrick's well. The crowd loving this action. All the way forward here. Taken in by Conor Cleary. Hand passed off. Left forward. Driven in towards the square, towards Conlon once again. Breaks loose here, the goalkeeper comes out, commits himself, gives it out as far as Dan Morrissey, helped out there. Away to the wings it comes this time to Dara O'Donovan, crossing his own 45-metre line. Down there towards Seamus Flanagan, trying to win his duel with David McInerney, looking for a free, nothing going. Conor Cleary plays it back into the middle once again. Dan Morrissey trying to break it down to himself. Peter Duggan winning it instead for Clare. They take it up once more. It's Kelly getting involved, switching it across to David Fitzgerald, who scored a few moments ago, who's feeling good about it perhaps, drives it in and puts it over the bar. How about that for a passage of play? Brilliant.
Well, Jared, that's one of the great Munster Championship passages there. What tackling, what work rate from everybody. Fitzgerald had the head to stay out in the wing. Tony Kelly picked him out with a brilliant pass. But we saw some brilliant hurling in that passage of play from both teams. Some great defending, some great tackling, some great manly hurling right up and down the field, and a brilliant score to cap it. And the atmosphere, the roar from the crowd gone up here is savage.
Well, David Fitzgerald will be very, very pleased with himself, but Limerick, as you can see, have an injured player right now requiring the treatment. Well, what about it that for an introduction by David Fitzgerald? It's quite remarkable what he's managed to do so far in this game.
Yeah, Jaron, a lot of talk coming into the game about the physicality of Limerick maybe being bigger and stronger, but if you look at the matchups now, you know, David Fitzgerald, Conor Cleary, Jamie Shanahan across the half-back line, they have the physique to match Garrod Hegarty and Kyle Hayes and Tom Morrissey. They're doing very well there, but I think it's the position of the ball. You saw that ball by Colin Galvin down into the corner where Podge Collins was running, so it's the movement of Reedy, of Shane O'Donnell, of Collins that don't have the size. There's Duggan and some savage tackling going in there, and it's intriguing to watch the way tactically that Clare are trying to break down Limerick. They don't want to turn it into an all-out battle up front.
O'Donovan's okay. The match continues. Cian Lynch trying to win possession in the middle of the park, helped out here by Tom Morrissey. Back to a recovered Dara O'Donovan, switching it across to the wings here to the wing back. In it goes towards Shane Dowling. Took it up beautifully. Took it away from O'Connor, flicked it away however for Kyle Hayes, who had a little bit of work to do to win it, got beyond Jack Brown, hits the shot from an angle and hits it nicely in there, and it raises another white flag. Really good point by a wonderfully talented young player from Kildimo Pallaskenry.
Yeah, he did well there to break the tackle and shorten the grip. He's got some very good scores during the championship, maybe more suited to centre back. The ball is back down the field again.
7 points to 5, Clare leading still. John Conlon, very menacing figure up front. What a good shot by Conlon, straight over the bar, minimum of fuss. A second for John Conlon, and the full back line there is having major problems with him.
Yeah, you saw Shane O'Donnell there again though, the work rate of him, and Conlon into the support, and the ball bounced up into his hand and he stuck it over the bar.
Short puck out as far as Diarmuid Burns, former under-21 captain. Diagonally across here, Dowling anticipating, comes out, strong figure of a man. Plays it across, this time intended for Flanagan to try and get to, and Seamus Flanagan has got it. 3 are after him. It's Flanagan. It's a little short, it's under hit. It was Tame, and Donald Toohey was able to get that ball away. 25 minutes into the match. Batted back out again. Ready to pick it up here is Cathal Malone, the 26-year-old from 6 Mile Bridge. Foul this time by Garrod Hegarty. Free into Clare. Hegarty protesting his innocence there to the match referee James Owens from Wexford. But it's an opportunity now for Clare to get another one. Leading by 3 at this stage. And Peter Duggan, the scorer of 3 of the 8 points on the board already. Duggan, who's made really very positive strides already this year, and a very, very classy free taker as well, as you can see. 4 for him, 4 from 4. And it's already Clare ahead in this match and leading nicely. David Fitzgerald trying to break it down this time. Real pile-up, and the referee allows it to develop here as Dan Morrissey from Mahan hits it out as far as Diarmuid Burns, back towards his captain, Declan Hannon. Giving it into the forwards there towards Flanagan, but couldn't take it. It's Cleary instead for Clare, back towards Patrick O'Connor. His dad was telling me outside the ground earlier on he was doing well to get a couple of tickets to get in here to see this match. It's been that kind of game. And there was a touch of the ball on the ground, and it's going to be a free in. And the player who was indicted there was Colin Galvin.
Yeah, Clare are going to be disappointed there. You know, a little trip there by Colin Galvin. They had loads of defenders back there. They won the ball back. And I was just going to comment on Limerick. You know, they're lobbing the ball into the full forward and hoping for the best. And this looks harsh. It must be for something that Galvin said. He looks to be getting booked here. And silly free to give away and give Shane Dowling another good opportunity.
First yellow card of the match, and he will feel it was undeserved, I think. It's going to be a free in, and it'll be Shane Dowling who will take it. His team 4 points down, and he's got 3 of the 5 so far for Limerick. They need another one. He is able to supply. He's doing his business.
Yeah, they're 27 gone. I think Limerick are going to be happy enough. There's a strong breeze out there. They're not playing particularly well, but they find themselves only 4 points down. Or 3 points down, 9-6 now. Sorry.
Once again, it's going to be 28-year-old Donald Toohey from Crusheen to take this. Runs all the way to Declan Hannon. His positioning sense was perfect. Gives it out to a man who plays under 21 centre half back, or it's under 21 still in hurling. It's confusing at times between the football and the hurling as to which is which. Who touched that last? Flanagan says it should be our ball.
He drew out a bit of a leg there as well on McInerney. I don't know if the ref saw that, but
Alan Kelly will have, because he's right next to it.
Yeah, they're having a tough battle, the two of them, on and off the ball, and you just watch it here now. Watch it after this here now. He just draws a bit of a kick at him there, and he got away with it.
Yeah, referee is satisfied.
Well, we've seen yellow cards given for a lot less.
Well, Colin Galvin will tell you he got one. Here's Darragh O'Donovan. Once again sweeping it up into the air with commendable accuracy and over the bar. Brilliant sideline cut by Darragh O'Donovan.
He should take every line ball. That's brilliant score from Darragh O'Donovan. We saw there in the championship. I'm just critical of the one back in his own half back line. I think he was gone too deep to take that one, but that's a great skill and a great score.
Colin Galvin had to come deep to win the ball there. It's flicked on by Peter Duggan on into the inside forwards. Podge trying to win it there ahead of Richie English. Here comes Mike Casey thundering out of that full back. It's been pinched from him. Duggan got it and then hand passed poorly, and Declan Hannon able to win it. Back in as far as Cian Lynch. Fires it forward here. Poor ball straight to Fitzgerald, the substitute. Nicely down as far as Cathal Malone. Wins his battle, takes off past Lynch, tries to get the hurley in to flick it away from him. It's Malone, full of determination. There were 5 or 6 players after him, and in the end it was Tom Condon who won it. But the attack continues. Great ball from Conlon across, and the end shot is a really good one. Jamie Shanahan. First of the day for Jamie Shanahan, but it's a case of holding it for a moment here with players down on the ground, and Clare protesting vigorously. Tom Condon's in the thick of the action, just behind the goal.
I was watching the ball going over the barrier, and I just want to say another great score by the half back line, Jamie Shanahan, but there was definitely a collision off the ball.
Well, a collision is right, and as you can see, a couple of flares.
But the Clare players ran straight. They were very, very aggravated going into the umpires. We might see something here now.
And they went straight to Tom Condon as well, I can say. Let's have a look at this again here. Well, that was it. And plenty of work for the medical personnel to do on both sides. That's Diarmaid Byrnes nearest to us, and then David Reedy is the other man in the Clare shirt.
So just have another look at it here. You see Diarmaid Byrnes, just nothing in that.
Very, very little, but players got very agitated immediately
Diarmaid
afterwards.
Byrnes went down far too easy there.
Well, all's well, it appears. Diarmaid Byrnes back on
Well,
his
it'll be
feet
interesting to
again
see
anyway.
what the extra minutes are, you know, because there's been a big hold up here, and will it all be accounted for? And
I won't mix my sports, but we don't have VAR here.
we don't, but it's maybe a little bit cynical there. Diarmaid Byrnes wasting a lot of time, and it'll be interesting to see if it's all added on.
Well, the referee has been busy talking and checking with his umpires behind the goal there. And the two linesmen are in helping him as well. And is there any action to be taken? He's moving across towards Tom Condon now. And Condon appears to be the villain of the piece. And the notebook is out. Whatever did happen, it wasn't clear to us.
And it must have been off the ball, because it wasn't anything we saw.
He's got a red card, and Limerick lose a man. And they do so after 32 minutes.
Here it is again now. Here's Condon. Oh, the handle of the hurl. Yeah, we didn't see that earlier. That's a red.
Oh, he really has let Limerick and himself down with that.
That's very, very nasty.
That is terribly, terribly nasty and silly.
Absolutely no need for that.
They certainly won't be thankful for Tom Condon losing his cool there. That's for sure. So they are down now and having to face 38, 40 minutes, maybe more, with just 14 players. They've lost Sean Finn to injury. They've lost Tom Condon, his replacement, to a red card. And is there some more work which has to be completed yet? He's been busier than he should be, James Owens, in this match.
It's probably the original two, I'd say, Diarmaid Byrnes and David Reedy, but the usual there is two yellows. But to me, David Reedy doesn't deserve a yellow, and he's going to get one.
Oh, he's going straight out to Reedy, who's been marked by Diarmaid Byrnes. David Reedy, who is a business studies student at LIT.
You saw the little bit of a push he gave Diarmaid Byrnes.
Yeah. He's got a red card.
That is absolutely crazy.
My goodness. Down to 14 per team.
That was play acting by Diarmaid Byrnes. You saw him looking back at him. That's an absolute disgraceful red card.
So essentially the referee has taken the advice that David Reedy fouled Diarmaid Byrnes sufficiently nastily to earn a red card. Byrnes went down, as you say, Michael, made the most of it, it would appear, from the pictures we're seeing, and now both teams are down to 14.
Crazy balance in the books there. The tackle on Tom Condon's is a straight red card, handling the hurl, but David Reedy just gave Diarmaid Byrnes a little nudge. That's Tony Kelly being fouled as well by Byrnes.
Bottom right of frame, we can have a look at this again.
Just a little shoulder. It was Byrnes
that.
just running into him. There was absolutely nothing in that. It's not even it's only a slight clash. Diarmaid Byrnes stayed down, but it's not his job to give out the cards, but he did stay down very easily. And that's very, very harsh on Reedy. That will be overturned, but you know, that'll be no good to him today.
Certainly won't. Peter Duggan, meanwhile, 4 from 4 so far. This to get another one for Limerick and make it 10 points to 8. 5th point of the match. Well, it's one of the talking points in this first half, which has had some moments, but not enough. Back here comes Dan Morrissey, who might be switched back into that full back line now. Out comes Mike Casey. Carried forward here by Garrod Hagerty, struggling to get it away because of the presence of Tony Kelly. All the way in towards the 20-metre line where Jamie Shanahan, who scored that last point, of course, before the Peter Duggan free, which set up the little fracas that ended inside. Here's Cian Lynch. Dished back to Darragh O'Donovan. The referee stops the play. Points to Cian Lynch. Says...
Brilliant catch there by Lynch. I think did he give it for charge? He turned the shoulder, little flick off the hurl.
It must be for charging. That's all I can think.
I thought he just took the shoulder, turned back and gave the pass.
Pass was perfect.
Just the game descended into a little bit of chaos here now over the last few minutes.
Well, it's something we could do without, that's for sure. 5 minutes of added time are going to be tagged on. We've played 35, and it's Peter Duggan who's come way, way back inside his own 65-metre line to hit this one. This is about 90 metres from the target. It's a huge free, wind assisted and over the bar. He can do no wrong with those frees today. His confidence is high. He's got 6, and Clare continue to lead. £12 points to 7 the position. Playing 5 minutes of added time. Declan Hannon firing it up towards the corner, towards Graham Mulcahy, who hasn't had much change so far from the Clare defenders. When you look around it, you've got Darragh O'Donovan with the sideline, you've got Shane Dowling with 4 points from frees. Here comes Cian Lynch. This could end the half in a very nice, tasty fashion, and it does. Beautifully done, right over on the sideline there. One of the sweetest hurlers you could hope to wish in the senior game today. Cian Lynch back on cue, narrowing the lead, tightening the game. Back come Clare once again, and that one is just wide of the target there from David Fitzgerald.
Yeah, poor wide.
Second wide.
Poor wide there, you know. Clare will be looking to keep that one in play, but a super score by Cian Lynch. If Limerick really, really needed a score, they were in trouble for the last 10 or 15 minutes, but that was a brilliant score to settle them down.
Mike Casey. Forward by Tom Morrissey. On comes Diarmaid Byrnes. Pursued there vigorously and beaten to that one and taken away out of danger brilliantly by Patrick O'Connor. All the way down to John Conlon. Holds off his man Casey. O'Donnell inside to Peter Duggan. Peter Duggan loses it, however. Limerick trying to win possession, and Darragh O'Donovan does enough, gets it out here as far as Declan Hannon. Away to the wings once again, waiting for it there was Diarmaid Byrnes from Patrick's Well, high up into the air, between the posts and over the bar. Diarmaid Byrnes' 9th ever championship point, his first today in his 7th match of playing at this level, and he has made it a very, very interesting scoreline now of 12 points to 9. Big one back towards John Conlon. Conlon. Mike Casey was needed back to help out. Little push. Umpire has his hand raised for a 65. Looked to be a push just before all of that.
Yeah, before that, the previous play, before Diarmaid Byrnes' point, a brilliant ball by Shane O'Donnell into Peter Duggan, but a savage interception by Rich English. He was coming back towards his own goals. He got in a fierce important block, and the ball ended up being cleared, and Byrnes scored a great point into the wind from out the field.
Interesting, Michael, in the last few minutes, John Kiley would seem to have brought Dan Morrissey back into that full back line. He's playing deeper in the last few minutes since the sending off of Tom Condon, and Garrod Hagerty, in fact, looks to be going back into the half back line. Here comes Peter Duggan again, this time a 65. Another super free.
This is huge for this Clare team, Jerry, I think, in their evolution, to have a free taker like Peter Duggan. Tony Kelly, you know, very brilliant player, but missing an odd one here and there, and we saw it with Wexford maybe as well over the last few weeks. But Duggan nailing all his frees, and it's a huge plus for Clare.
It's Clare by 4 points. Richie English. David McInerney winning possession. David Fitzgerald then picking it up. Here to Kelly. Yet to make a major impact on this game. Shoulder there by Garrod Hagerty. Ball spills loose. Cian Lynch getting it away. Again the game hots up, and the referee blows his whistle and calls across one of the Clare players. It's David Fitzgerald, is it?
Yeah, Hagerty with a hard shoulder on Tony Kelly there, and you see Cian Lynch picking up the ball, and then David Fitzgerald looks like he's going to pick up a yellow card.
It's a yellow card, and he's got a puzzled look on his face, to put it mildly, judging by his demeanour. So he's got a yellow card. There's a yellow card as well for Colm Galvin, and as we know, David Reedy was sent off just immediately after the dismissal of Tom Condon of Limerick. That incidentally was the only card issued to a Limerick player, I think, in the opening 30-something minutes, 40 minutes now at this stage. Shane Dowling, 4-pointed freeze. Moving nicely, off the post, it comes down. Flanagan trying to win possession. Seamus Flanagan, who excelled against Cork and got 5 points in that match at Páirc Uí Chaoimh 2 weeks ago, taking on David McInerney. Trying to make a bit of space for himself and recycle this one all the way back towards Shane Dowling, twisting and turning, going through challenges, playing it back out here to Tom Morrissey, and that has gone away to the right-hand side. Still in play, and the referee finally does blow his half-time whistle, and there are 4 points between the teams at half-time here. But the major talking points really will be the red cards. First of all, a red card issued to Tom Condon after 32 minutes, and immediately after that the referee went across and dismissed David Reedy of Clare as well. And at the break here in Cusack Park in Ennis, it is Clare 13 points, Limerick 9.
Centra. We are hurling.
The first half in Ennis failed to really spark, but those sparks were flying, and as a result, both Clare and Limerick down to 14 men before the second half has even begun. Just 4 points in it between Clare and Limerick at half-time down in Cusack Park. Clare leading by 13 points to 9. There wasn't an enormous amount to talk about until the final of 5 minutes or so, Henry. Those 2 red cards, they're obviously going to be significant, but the question is, were they fair? Were both of them fair?
No, I don't think both of them were fair, and we're just going to show the clip here now. So Jamie Shannon gets a good point for Clare. The game had been very stop-start up to that point. We can see Dermot Burns on the ground. We can just see that first shot there. David Reedy just kind of brushes off Dermot Burns and he makes a bit of a meal of it. Jamie Shannon proceeds to score the point. Now the thing about it here, Tom Collins in your top left screen, number 18, he didn't even see what took place, and then he went, and it was very, very dangerous. So when Tom Collins sees that back, he could have done serious damage to David Reedy. So that was a deserving red card.
Yeah, without question. And we probably thought that was it, because myself and Henry were watching the game here. It was very clear for us that David Reedy had done absolutely nothing. So to see him go back in a second time, I mean, where the unclarity came from, I don't know, because he went like, that's nothing. No, you know what I mean? There's absolutely nothing in that. We were actually surprised. Dermot Burns nearly get the other card flying down.
Coming in here, Condon. This is where it started. David Reedy's doing nothing. He's only standing his ground.
No,
and then he
absolutely
gets,
not.
So David Reedy is a very unlucky man.
No.
We even see, was it Declan Hannon there shouting down on top of Reedy as well, because you were wondering, Liam, if it was possible that maybe before the Tom Condon incident had something happened.
Yeah, I thought with the interaction maybe it was David that had given the first dig and then Tom digged him back, but it's very clear from when we see it there, it's absolutely conclusive. There was no sending off that should have taken place for David Reedy. He's very, very unfortunate to find himself sitting down. It will be overturned, but it's a huge turning point to this match because they're 13-9 up, Clare are. There should be a man up, and because they're playing into a stiff breeze in the second half. It's probably been Limerick's poorest 35 minutes in the Munster Championship to date. They haven't really come alive. If they don't come alive quickly in the second half, they're going to be under real pressure.
We know officials have come in for a lot of criticism during this championship, but what is James Owen supposed to do there when the Limerick player, Dermot Burns, goes on the ground? He consults all the officials around him.
Yeah, and the thing for the umpires there is that they can't see what has taken place because they're watching the high ball coming in, and next thing Dermot Burns is on the ground. So you would think a defender jumping on the ground in front of the square, something has happened. And I think that has played up for David Reedy getting sent off, which is very disappointing because to be fair, it was very, the game was very even up to that point, and it was just a silly incident. And that led to Tom Conlon coming in to getting sent off by Dermot Burns jumping on the ground.
Because it hasn't really given us the spark or the fireworks that we were expecting. And I was making the point earlier, maybe it's the fact, like the two of them are in the lucky position that they find themselves, they're going to be going forward in the All-Ireland series anyway. But certainly neither team are playing like a team that's hell-bent on getting into the Munster final, and I find that really surprising. Well, it hasn't really taken off.
Well, I think it's been the most tactical game we've seen so far this year. Because of that breeze, I think Limerick has sat back, so they haven't pushed as many men up, and it's had that whole congestion around that. We thought the congestion was going to be in the midfield, but it's actually more back in Limerick's play, back in their back line.
You picked out John Conlon and Peter Duggan before the game started, but Conlon has had huge influence in that opening half.
Yeah, and I think this full-back position is going to be a problem for Limerick. They thought Mike Casey was going to solve it, but again, he's given a couple of inches to John Conlon, and as we said before in the match, he's very, very strong. Again, Clare, was one of the good balls where they got in. Conlon just loves this. He just powers onto his left-hand side, over his shoulder. Obviously, Shane O'Donnell did a good job by holding back Mike Casey there. Again, this one, the play breaks down a little bit. Podge Collins come in. But what we're going to show here is what Conlon can do, is his raw strength. And in a game like this where there's a lot of bodies around, you need very strong man physically, and he's only looking one thing, heading for goal, and there's nothing Tom Condon can do, only bring him down. So he's been very impressive himself. Full forward has been Clare's leading light so far.
Yeah, OK, we'll be back with more from Ennis very shortly, and we'll also be letting you know how things are going in Thurles, and I can just let you know they're not exactly going to script so far. Back in a minute.
Littlewoods Ireland, proud sponsor of the GAA Hurling Championship.
Waterford may have little to play for down in Thurles, but they're trying very hard to put a big dent in Cork's efforts to qualify for the Munster Hurling final. Tom Devine's point, 1 of 15 for Waterford, just 11 for Cork so far. If things were to stay the way they are at half-time, both Clare and Limerick would qualify for the Munster final. Now, Liam Sheedy, you reckon, though, that there might be quite a decent breeze in favour of Waterford down in...
Yeah, that's definitely... The breeze would be favouring Cork in the second half, but that's a very, very poor performance by Cork. I guess that's I would have felt today as a dangerous day for Cork, because all the talk beforehand is, it doesn't matter to Waterford. But it's potentially... obviously Derek McGrath's last game, and it's also obviously Brick Walsh breaking the record, and there's a huge amount of respect in that dressing room for him. So they're clearly coming to Thurles to win their final match, even though there's nothing at stake for them, and they certainly are putting it up to Cork. So an interesting 35 minutes in Simple Stadium coming up too.
I wonder if they hear about that in Ennis. Would you want to hear about that if you were playing, and could it mess with what way you go out in the second half?
No, I think they'll be keeping it totally separate. I think their focus will be definitely on the game at hand, but it'll be a test. We're always saying at half-time that win is about a 4-point game or a 5-point game. So in both situations, both teams are back by 4 or 5 points. So we'll be interested to see Limerick obviously have the win now in the second half and see if they can push on.
You hate seeing players getting sent off, obviously, but Henry was making the point that it should open things up, because you would think that the pitch in Cusack is very small, looking at the way that the teams in the middle has been really bunched up in that first half.
Yeah, and I think it might suit Clare in the second half for the simple reason that John Conlon is clearly on top, and Mike Casey's not attacking the ball. So if John Conlon gets the ball, if it's 1v1 and there's not many bodies around, he's only one thing in his mind to turn and go for goal. So I think Shane Dowling, if there was a leading light for Limerick, Shane Dowling, when the ball went in, Shane Dowling was quite on top. So I think Limerick's playing the second half will be, can they get the ball in deep? Because in that middle third, they're struggling to get quality ball inside. If they get quality ball inside, a goal would be a massive score in this match, Joanne.
Yeah, and now, even though Clare were well on top in that first half, Limerick, those 2 points they scored 2-1 at the very end of the game, did that make a difference?
Well, I think they were 12-7 down, and at that stage they were really, really under pressure, and like Keane Lynch probably hasn't fired the way we'd expect him to fire, but this is a great score, out in the wing. He managed to get the ball out of a ruck and strikes a very good point. That brings it back to 12-8, and you were saying, God, they're coming back in a little bit into it. And here's this guy, how often have we seen Dermot Burns do this, steps up, drives it into, the town in Ennis, I'd say, with the strike he has in the ball, and puts the ball over the bar. All of a sudden it's 12-9 line, got it back to 3. Clare did get the last score, but it's still only a 4-point game, and there clearly is a big breeze in Ennis today.
Now, Donal Maloney has made no secret of the fact that Clare like to go for goals, that is their game plan. But we didn't see a huge amount of that today. Was that due to the fact that Limerick defended well at times?
Yeah, I think Limerick did suck back. Declan Hannon sat very, very deep. I think both teams struggled to score goals, Joanne, because the kind of way they play, they don't go down the jugular, down the centre. Because there's a congestion there of Declan Hannon sitting back, they like to go down the wings. And when you saw John Conlon's point earlier on, you have to get the ball in the corner, you have to come back around and put it over the bar. So for me, there's no one running direct at the goal because there is bodies there, and that's why we're not seeing many goals today.
And the fact that Tony Kelly hasn't been in it a huge amount as well, I presume, makes a difference to that too.
Well, it does. But, you know, the one thing you would have to admire him is that Keane Lynch got a ball and Tony Kelly chased him down 60, 70 yards, because you'll often find a period in the game where it just doesn't flow and you're not on the ball. But he clearly showed that when he's not on the ball, he's working hard for the team. And a guy like Tony Kelly, you know, what I admire about him is that he could be quiet for 40 or 50 minutes, and in 1-3 minutes he could change the whole game. And I suppose that's all the time what you're looking for Tony Kelly to do. Hasn't really flowed in the first half. That sometimes can be a danger.
And I think we always talk about the forwards, but we must take our hats out to the defenders, because there's only been 3 forwards that scored from play so far today. So I think if whichever forward division can start getting on top will probably come out in the end.
Let's find out. It is only 4 points between the teams, as we've seen in this Munster Championship already. Absolutely anything can happen in the second half. Back to Michael and Ger.
Thank you very much indeed, Joanne. Second half just underway. Limerick have brought on Richie McCarthy to reinforce their full back line, and I think they have taken off Graham Mulcahy, the corner forward, so substituting a forward, and straight away it is Tom Morrissey to come in here and get the opening point of the second half and trim the lead quite significantly. 3 between them.
Yeah, great score there by Tom Morrissey. Had a very good first half, got a good score. Very interesting, I think. Limerick going with this, bringing on an extra defender. They're going to have 6 defenders in the second half, and obviously Clare are going to have 6 as well. So obviously Limerick looking to maybe score from distance or whatever, but they're going to leave their full forward line very short.
Cathal Malone here. They tried to have him out over the sideline. Plays it inside to Tony Kelly instead. Kelly going past Richie English. Kelly shortens the grip on the stick and puts it over the bar. They go point for point. 4 points the margin again. Tony Kelly's first of the day.
Yeah, very good score there by Tony Kelly. Cathal Malone with great work up the left flank here, and Kelly just trusting himself, his pace, that he had room, and he just shortened the grip and little flicking over the bar.
Short one out this time towards Richie English, the player from Doon, 24 years of age. Across into the middle, easily plucked from the air that time, and back in once more. It comes from Jack Brown in towards John Conlon, unable to get it in over the head that time of the fullback, who is Mike Casey. Limerick winning possession here on their own half back line. Diarmuid Burns, who got a lovely point during the end of that first half, all the way down towards Shane Dowling, has to scamper across, pursued by Patrick O'Connor. Dowling holding on to it, across towards Seamus Flanagan, lets it bounce, taking on McInerney, going forward with purpose. Very, very stylishly done. There was nobody able to get a block on that. That was a lovely point by Seamus Flanagan, and he's got his first.
Yeah, well, it's Shane Dowling is leading the attack very well. He's out there, wins the ball, uses his experience and looks up. But Flanagan had a lot of work to do. He had no support, and he's on a very good defender, David McInerney, but a super score.
Lots of frees in the first half, lots of scores at the very beginning of this second one. Sounds promising. Patrick O'Connor all the way down. Nicely taken once again here. Richie McCarthy only just into the play. Gives it to Dan Morrissey. Swings it down towards Seamus Flanagan again. He's been double marked there. The referee allows play to continue. It breaks into the waiting hands there of Jamie Shanahan. Down into space. There's nobody in there. There's an extra defender. And Richie McCarthy is making sure that he's absolutely secure with this one. Fires it down along the line once more. Down there towards Kyle Hayes, who's claiming that his hand was being held by Cathal Malone, the referee not heeding it, however, and Kelly has a go, and it goes up and it goes over the bar. Tony Kelly, 2 in a row for him.
Well, Tony Kelly has that ability. That's an unbelievable score off his right side, just one look and straight over the bar. And I just felt there Kyle Hayes, and before that Seamus Flanagan definitely was impeded. He was trying to go on to the ball. I thought Limerick should have got a couple of frees there.
Suddenly there are a lot of advantages being given, and 4 points already have come from that in the first half from good play. Tony Kelly, early stages of the second half, back in towards David Fitzgerald, who scored 2 himself, of course, during the first half when he came on as a substitute. goes in there towards Peter Duggan, back out towards Colm Galvin, allows it to run towards Cathal Malone. He's lost it. Cian Lynch trying to win it. This time it's Podge Collins trying to come across, impishly taking it up, hand passing it back towards Jack Brown. Doing well to keep it in play anyway, and then he's challenged very, very high indeed, and that is unquestionably going to be a free in for Clare. Good work by Jack Brown.
Yeah, you have to say very poor defending. See Kyle Hayes, the hand in high again there. That free wasn't given, but the one that was given was against Mike Casey. 3 Limerick defenders around the man, and as you say, I think the ref a lot of frees in the first half, but he's trying to let the game flow in the second half.
So it's going to be Peter Duggan who will step up to take this. During the first half, he put over a total of 7 frees in all. One of them was from a 65. Giving himself every opportunity now. 35 metres from the target, straight as you could wish. Good start to the second half for him.
Yeah, and a good response by Clare. They've gone 16-11 up now. You know, Limerick with a couple of good points, but Clare have responded very well, and Tony Kelly much more prominent since half-time.
Short one, as far as Diarmuid Byrne, forced back here by Podge Collins, who got a little block on it. Richie English able to hold on to it. Knocking it into space here to Declan Hannon, into Cian Lynch, quickly back. Darragh O'Donovan steals the march there on Podge Collins. It's towards Shane Dowling, allowed to run on. Patrick O'Connor is after it as well. O'Connor, the Clare man, is able to hand pass it back to Jamie Shanahan, flicking it into the middle, beautifully caught by Colm Galvin. Nice stylish play here, out towards top of the right. Conlon trying to take it. Richie McCarthy over there as well to mind him. Keep a very good eye on the very strongly built John Conlon. Goalkeeper needed. Nicky Quaid, 28-year-old from Effin, into Darragh O'Donovan, lobbing it. Well, Dowling must have slipped there. He was on his hands and knees. There were 2 men marking him. He came in late to challenge Pat O'Connor and hook him. Dowling doing some very good work down there, but lacking in support, however, and eventually weight of numbers counts, and Clare were able to get the ball away down as far as Colm Galvin. The 25-year-old from Clonlara lashes it in there, inside towards Shane O'Donnell, runs on to Conlon, and he puts it over the bar. Third for John Conlon. Great play, really exciting, a much better game.
Yeah, and there was a goal on there for a split second, maybe if Conlon had settled himself. But this suits Clare to me. There's a lot more room out there, and if you want to play loose hurling against Clare, you'll be in trouble.
Garroyd Hagerty advancing, stopped however, and it is his marker, David Fitzgerald, who wins it. Gives it out beautifully. Jack Brown, lob forward. Inside, unable to hold on to it that time was John Conlon. Nicky Quaid taking it instead, swinging it out as far as Dan Morrissey, waiting for it and calling for it. Darragh O'Donovan got that lovely sideline cut in the first half. Declan Hannon. Over it goes here towards Hagerty. Catches a beauty ahead of his man Fitzgerald. Leaves him for dead and finishes with some aplomb. That was a beautiful score. First of the day for Garroyd Hagerty, but it all came from that lovely pass downfield and a magnificent catch.
Yeah,
looks so confident.
That's what he wants, one-on-one. He wants a ball in the air. He doesn't want it low to his feet. And here's Seamus Flanagan now.
McInerney indiscriminately hand-passed that one. Has to go back and try to make amends. Cleary trying to help him. Shane Dowling trying to create some havoc. And for once, one ball has gone astray there. And that is just the 3rd wide of the match by Limerick. Thankfully, wides have been few and far between. The managers will be pleased enough with that particular side of the game. Remind you, if you joined us late, both teams are playing with 14 men. Tom Condon sent off after 32 minutes, and immediately after that, David Reedy, very harshly, I thought, given a red card, so he was dismissed as well. Great take in the air by Peter Duggan. He beat 4 men to it, but he couldn't quite match it with a point at the end. So that is Clare's 3rd wide.
Yeah, brilliant catch, and you'll have a little bit more time if you took it on a few yards, just to see Richie McCarthy is in on John Conlon. Obviously Conlon's physical power causing him trouble in the first half, and Richie English playing as the extra man.
Nicky Quaid for a Limerick side, playing with a strong breeze behind them for this second half. Tom Morrissey inside. They're asking an awful lot of Shane Dowling. He's doing really well. In there to Kyle Hayes. Can he finish? Straight at the goalkeeper. Bounces back out towards David McInerney. and McInerney from Tulla gets it away to the wings. Colm Galvin doing well to keep it in play, scampered after it, gave it into the centre towards Podge Collins. Collins trying to get by Cian Lynch, fires it forward instead. It's 3 against 2 back there, and the 3 are doing well for Limerick. Richie English back downfield once again. Clare thought they were going to get a free, they didn't. They have possession, however, and it's Jamie Shanahan, nobody marking him, from his own 45-metre line. This one should be Mike Casey's. He fumbles it, and in the end the referee saw a foul. Once he had failed to catch it properly, he was always in some difficulty, and right now he's probably going to get a card as well.
Well, he is for persistent fouling. You see here he lost control of it, and he just drew a swipe here across Tony Kelly. A definite yellow card. And there's Donald too. Look, a lovely height for the goalie. I think Kyle Hayes, you know, it's 17-12. It would have been 17-13 if he stuck that over the bar. Probably the right option to do there. And here now, easy chance for Peter Duggan in front of the goals.
To make it 18 points for Clare. It comes off the post instead. The one that got away from him. Shane O'Donnell was trying to hold on to it. Mike Casey gets it out as far as Diarmuid Burns, playing it back towards the number 3. Helped out here by the substitute. Richie McCarthy came on at half-time. They needed an extra bit of defence back there, Limerick, to try and win this duel, to try and get themselves into this year's Munster Hurling final. Out as far as Colm Galvin. Galvin opening up the broad shoulders, lashing it in. 2 men waiting inside for it. Came off the stick of Casey, I think. O'Donnell for Clare, trying to get in along the end line. Clare dominant. Well, that's to nobody in particular, right across the face of goal, all the way across towards the 20-metre line, and Darragh O'Donovan is able to go across and take it. In as far as his captain, Declan Hannon. Swiftly out to Dan Morrissey. Cian Lynch was calling to his right, didn't give it to him. About to be hooked, it would appear, by Peter Duggan, who's chasing him. Got it in nonetheless in the general direction of Shane Dowling. One back by Dan Morrissey, and Morrissey looks up satisfied with a little bit of work because he's put it over the bar, and that's just his 2nd point in Championship Hurling. He scored in Cork 2 weeks ago, and he's come up here now very confidently to knock it over the bar, and it's another one for Limerick.
Yeah, well, you'd have to credit the persistence of Dan Morrissey there. He ran and ran, he had options maybe to give it to Cian Lynch earlier, and then he threw away a wild hand pass, but the ball broke back to him, and the Limerick players got in around it. One of the Clare lads down injured now, as is Kyle Hayes. I can't see which Clare player is down.
17 points to 13, 4 between them, as you were at half-time. Once again, the medical personnel in attending. This is Patrick O'Connor coming. I wonder, is he the...
yeah, it is.
There was a boot made contact with him, I think. Clare's captain awkwardly falling. And then immediately after that, he was at the receiving end, most definitely. But sitting up, and hopefully will be able to continue. He's been a tower of strength for so long now in that full back line from Tubber.
Kyle Hayes got in there now around full forward, and Dowling switching. I think he needs a bit of support in there, and Dowling has worked really hard during the game so far with very little support in there.
Donald Maloney in pensive mood. Both sets of supporters now in this massive sellout crowd. Tickets all gone from early on Monday last. Everybody wanted to see it. We're 12 minutes into the 2nd half, and it's advantage Clare, as it has been right throughout this match. McInerney again almost putting him side in some difficulty. He makes amends, puts that hand up, claims it, gets it out, then surrenders it to Cian Lynch. There's no room whatsoever in which to manoeuvre in that very congested middle third of the field. Last man down there was Cathal Malone, and the referee eventually gives the free. It'll be Clare's free, and an opportunity once again for Peter Duggan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you see the tackling going in here, and he said pick off the ground there from Garrett Hegarty, and the free in for Clare. You'd just be surprised, Jared, that maybe the likes of Aaron Gillan, David Dempsey, you know, maybe introduced into the Limerick attack. They have pace, they have quality, and it's just very hard work. It's, you know, as we say, a surprising substitution, playing with the wind at half-time to bring in a defender, but you think they need a bit of support up front now.
Again, a superb free, well struck by Peter Duggan, and he's now got 9 in this match. The last one struck a post. Other than that, it's been flawless. 18 points to 13. Well, Limerick have time, but they need to show some more ideas and a bit more determination and resolve to breach that very strong Clare defence. Cian Lynch looking at the referee. Referee finally does give the decision Limerick's way. Here's what happened. Limerick about to make a change, and number 20 coming on is Aaron Gillan. Player going off will be Seamus Flanagan.
In fairness to Flanagan, he battled really hard in there, usually against two defenders, but hard working display.
Shane Dowling pointed 4 balls already over the bar. He's now put this one away left, and he's missed it. It's the second one that he's missed today. Now that Gillan is on, I wonder will he stay on those frees, because Gillan is a really assured free taker, and he's gone in there towards the 2-man inside forward line. Right now it's looking like Gillan alongside Kyle Hayes in the inside line, but that will probably change. Right now Colm Galvin getting it out to the wings to David Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald made a lot of headway, looking for his 3rd point of the match. That one has gone adrift, however, went well to the right, missed opportunity, and that's 4 wides now for Clare.
Yeah, and he scored 2 good points. He's missed 2 other easy enough chances, and he's very prominent since he came on.
Here comes Dan Morrissey. Dan, who scored already in the second half, pursued there by Peter Duggan, runs on towards Kyle Hayes. Aaron Gillan's in the thick of it as well now, the number 20, another man with a white helmet. There he is challenging. All a bit helter-skelter, and the referee is eventually going to whistle up the play and throw the ball in between 2. Attendance today, by the way, officially given to us is 18,803.
Yeah, great work there by Peter Duggan. He tracked Dan Morrissey the whole way down the field and forced the turnover. Brilliant work.
And eventually this is taken away here, out of danger by Cian Lynch, and then fired back in, looking for a goal. Instead it is Donal Tuohy. Out as far as Colm Galvin, whose brother Ian, of course, younger brother, got such a vital goal against Tipperary last week. David Fitzgerald up here, beautifully taken by John Conlon. 2 against him. Conlon, I think, put off by the presence of those 2 defenders, just mishit it after all of that. Just didn't get the connection right.
Joe, that's the weakness in his game to me. Tony Kelly made a brilliant run up the middle. He should have just picked him out, a simple hand pass, and he didn't do it and went for his own score and poked a silly wide.
Taken down well here. Knocked out to Tom Morrissey, and Morrissey has missed it, and another one has gone wide. Too many wides now. That's 4 wides for Limerick, or rather it's now 5.
Yeah, and the game really getting it hard to spark into life, Jerry. Very stop-start. You're kind of waiting for Limerick. Clare are just doing enough. They've 18 points scored, but Limerick can be very disappointed with a lot of their players. They've only 13 points on the board, and they're struggling all over the field.
Podge Collins, beautifully laid off as far as Tony Kelly. He's got 2 points already in the second half. He's missed this one. He underhit it. He just didn't look to have the energy behind that one. 4 wide. Still they lead, however. They have a 5-point advantage. Kicked forward this time by Aaron Gillan. David McInerney all the way back as far as Jamie Shanahan, operating now on the full back line, it would appear. Broken down towards Cathal Malone. Kept in play. Cian Lynch trying to pinch it in there, as well as Kyle Hayes. It's Lynch who gets it into Gillan. Man has just come on, ready to make his presence felt. What about that for a fine score? Showing everybody just what he is capable of. Got a very silly red card in the game against Cork, but he's back and he's part of the action and he's firing.
Yeah, great score and brilliant hands by Cian Lynch. In a tight situation, he picked up the ball and gave a lovely little hand pass, and Gillan one look and over his shoulder. Class forward that he is, that's a great score.
No goals so far, not too many goal mouth chances, 4 between them. It was 13-9 at half time, and still that 4 points advantage being enjoyed by the banner. Once again, the medical personnel in to attend to an injured player. We've got Clare's Jason McCarthy about to come in. Clare he's going to replace will be Cathal Malone.
Number 9, Cathal Malone, is being replaced by number 18, Jason McCarthy.
So fresh legs in the middle of the park required, just to keep things moving along nicely for Clare. Thankfully the injured player Jamie Shanahan is okay. Jamie, who's facing Limerick in the championship for the first time as a senior hurler this afternoon. Donald Toohey out as far as Patrick O'Connor, into the aforementioned Shanahan. Dropped this time. Should have been Richie English's. A couple of mishandled balls back there by Limerick defenders in the last few Clare attacks. Cian Lynch trying to get after this one and make something happen at the other end. Gearóid Hegarty coming into challenge. Finally this ball is out once more. Fired beautifully into the corner. Nicely done. Real opportunity here now. Podge Collins, referee, gave him an advantage just for a moment and eventually decided nothing was coming of that, but it was that lovely pass through the centre there, once again by Tony Kelly into Podge. Podge being held off by Richie English and then being fouled, and the referee gives the free to Clare.
Yeah, Podge very clever there. You know, he turned inside and took him on, and it was either foul him or and maybe create a goal chance, and showed all his experience. Great ball by Tony Kelly. And you mentioned Jamie Shanahan, he was down injured. He is picking up a lot of that spare ball in the half back line and using it very, very well. His delivery is very quick and very fast.
Another one for Peter Duggan. He's been the scorer-in-chief today in this match, and that is point number 10 for the afternoon. A very good afternoon's work for him so far. So the margin's out to 5 once more. And there's got to be another change before the match can restart. And number 19, David Dempsey, is going to come in for Limerick. Gearóid Hegarty, the man who's going to make way. Caught that brilliant ball about 5-6 minutes ago and scored a lovely point. But again, it's a case of freshening things up. That's all the way down here, down towards Tom Morrissey. Steadies himself, fires it, it's near the right-hand upright, and it's just inside. It's a third for Tom Morrissey, Limerick's under-21 captain last year. Clare all the time, Michael, just seem to have 4 points of an advantage, and Limerick are struggling to get in tighter than that.
Yeah, they're holding the advantage well, and their forwards working very hard and winning frees, and Duggan is on fire with the frees, and that's what they're doing. They're taking them on, drawing the frees all day.
David Fitzgerald again looks up, saw McCarthy, the new man in, but he gave it away instead to Diarmuid Burns. Back towards David Dempsey, another new man has just come in, hops it off the ground, Podge is after him, still pursuing him. Dempsey running into a cul-de-sac, a real maze, left it behind, taken out eventually by Patrick O'Connor for Clare. Away to the wings here as far as Colm Galvin. An enterprising ball inside here, well cut out, beautifully done by Declan Hannon. And then he was fouled by Tony Kelly, the referee has decided, and Kelly can't believe it.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't fouled by Kelly. I'd say it was Tom Conlon or John Conlon there. Just watch, he just held him back a little bit there. Kelly came in with a very good rob, it wasn't against him.
Yeah. Free which is going to be taken by Diarmuid Burns.
Game reminds me a little bit of the Tip game last week against Clare in reverse, where Tip left Clare in the game and Clare leaving Limerick in this game. You know, there's only 4 points in it, and Limerick really haven't started to hurl at all, and you know, just not out of it by any means.
Well, they've had a good campaign so far, Limerick. They don't want to lose along the way. This is their final round-robin game. Same for Clare as Diarmuid Burns hits it in and hits it wide as well. So another chance has gone astray, and that is wide number 6. Well, the Limerick fans behind John Kiley and the team still believe it is possible. Time ebbing away. Out towards Patrick O'Connor, and not for the first time. In fact, they've been doing it all through this second half, Clare. Down into the middle of the field. Broken down here towards Dan Morrissey. Picked up instead and then lost by Shane O'Donnell, but Morrissey goes back, wins it. Nicely in here to Kyle Hayes. Lobs it, 2 against 3, and the backs there in numbers. Strong, very, very strong, very convincing. Jamie Shanahan firing it out towards Podge Collins. Was he pushed in the back by Diarmuid Burns? The referee ignored the claim. And this time Colm Galvin goes down. Again, there's no free given, and it's swung away by Darragh O'Donovan. Back down into that goal area once more. Limerick hoping to try and gain an edge somewhere, but there are so many Clare bodies there. Very, very strong defence. And the referee is going to bring the play out around the 20-metre line.
Well, Limerick counter, I agree with you, Jared. I think Podge Collins definitely fouled and Colm Galvin probably fouled, but Podge Collins was definitely pushed in the back by Diarmuid Burns. Should have been a free in.
Well, we had sendings off and we had yellow cards in the first half. In the second half, we've had a lot of play just continuing on days when we thought, on time when we thought there might be a whistle from the referee, but none was given. A lot of continuous play, and still Clare continue to lead by 4 points. Cian Lynch back towards Tom Morrissey, unable to make anything of it. Limerick forced back outside the 45-metre line, and eventually Clare take command and control, and who else but Tony Kelly gives it off here as far as Conor Cleary. Inside to Shane O'Donnell, lost it. Helped out here by Podge Collins. Collins looking up, seeing where Kelly was, giving it to the main man, former hurler of the year in 2013. Holds on, holds off the challenge of Mike Casey. Back as far as Peter Duggan, and Peter Duggan has got one from play here. 2 at the end of the match against Tip last week, 1 here, and that's 11 for the day, made for him by Kelly.
Great patience by Kelly there, and held it up until Duggan came free and threw him a little hand pass.
At the other end, it's Aaron Gillan. Scored a lovely point a few moments ago. This time hooked superbly by Jason McCarthy. Comes back out to Jamie Shanahan. Poor ball by Shanahan, given away there to David Dempsey. Dempsey hitting it from a distance. They need a score, but he hasn't got it. It's another one that's been missed. Too many missed opportunities in the second half. That is 5 wides in all in the second half, and 7 in total.
Absolutely, very, very poor miss by David Dempsey. Poor ball by, I was praising Jamie Shanahan for his use of the ball earlier, and just maybe sums up the game. Very scrappy, very start, and the quality not good.
9 minutes remaining. Oh, that about sums it up. Donald Toohey right over the sideline. Line ball to Limerick. Limerick need the scores quickly. Another sub coming on, and this time for Clare it will be Ian Galvin in place of David Fitzgerald. Well, David Fitzgerald has had an interesting afternoon. Started on the bench, came on then as a substitute for the injured Shane Morey, got 2 great scores, and now he himself is being substituted, replaced by Ian Galvin. Shane Dowling feeling that the decision to be going Limerick's way. Down there on the ground is Colm Galvin.
Yeah, we saw Darragh O'Donovan hit the line ball there. Colm Galvin came in and was the first man in, but watch Dowling comes in hard here now, and the ball just breaks. He picks it up. Very little in that. It was just a hard challenge by Dowling, and I'd say the ref will end up throwing it in.
Well, clearly Colm Galvin from Clonlara is not in the best of health at the moment. Hefty knock. Perhaps he was just not expecting the challenge to come in just there from Shane Dowling when it did, and he was taken by surprise. Back up. One of the heroes of 2013 when they won the All-Ireland after a replay under David Fitzgerald. Limerick have ambitions of their own, strong ambitions to do well this year, starting with a Munster final. A draw would have done them today to make sure they got there. 20 points to 15 they trail. Goalkeeper Donald Toohey ready to hit this. Clare looking to get the next score. Peter Duggan trying to make some advances here. Helped out beautifully by Ian Galvin. Into Tony Kelly, and Kelly might finish it off here with a 3rd point all in the second half. It's a particularly good performance by Tony Kelly and by his team. So they stretch the lead once again here, 6 between them.
Yeah, Jerry, you mentioned at half time there was 4 points in it. Limerick came out playing with the wind, and I thought tactically they handed the game, the initiative to Clare by coming out with an extra defender. They've left Clare then under no pressure at the other end of the field, having a spare man, and they've conceded a few points, the Clare defence, but in general they're comfortable with Jamie Shanahan back there as an extra man, David McInerney playing well, and I just thought it was very negative by Limerick at half time to come out playing with a strong wind and to go with an extra defender.
I can't remember any stage in this game, Michael, truly, that I felt Limerick were going 100%, playing as they can play.
No, certainly not. I agree with you. And before today, a lot of people talking about them as All-Ireland contenders, and a lot of question marks maybe arising today. And Richie English now looks like he's going to be coming off. He's limping away here as well.
They were about to bring on Barry Nash. I wonder, is he still going to be the replacement? Because they've now lost Sean Finn earlier on, now Richie English, but it is going to be Barry Nash, and he's come in place of Richie English.
Yeah, I'd say they'll just go man for man at the back. They'll play with the 5 defenders now and take a chance.
Well, they're taking the chance, as you say. Shane Dowling to try and take advantage of this scoring opportunity, and it's been missed again. A horrible second half by Limerick, really wretched in front of goal. Now it's Clare's turn to make a change, and Shane O'Donnell is going to make way, and the player who's been replacing him is Conor McGrath. So from inside their own 45-metre line, Clare build once more. Conor Cleary cross towards Ian Galvin. Sure, a player who'd like to be getting a lot more game time has shown us in the past what he's capable of doing. Here's his brother Colin, keeping it away from the other number 8, Darragh O'Donovan. Out as far as Peter Duggan. Duggan looks at it admiringly, as well he might. He's got another one from open play. He's got 12.
Well, he's been absolutely brilliant, Jared. Colin Galvin again showing his experience, took his time on the ball, flicked it out unselfishly, and Duggan is having another master game here for Clare.
This one is won here by Patrick O'Connor. Back to the corner to Jamie Shanahan, who's now left corner back, as it were. Conor Cleary out as far as Galvin once again, having made that last score for Duggan. Up as far as Podge Collins. Oh, good vision, spotting the run here, brilliant run indeed. Brown set it up for Kelly, their teammates, their club mates, with Ballier and with Clare, and he's got a 4th, Tony Kelly. And surely now there is absolutely no way whatsoever that Clare are going to be denied.
Well, Podge Collins, who's worked tirelessly, look at that for vision, flicked it inside, the ball handed on then to Tony Kelly. 4 points from play in the second half, and that's what he can do, and a brilliant catch there by David McInerney, who's been outstanding as well.
Well, those who doubt Clare and their capacity to do well this year should have a look at this second half. They've been really, really good. Podge hits it in. He was given a nudge in the back by Kyle Hayes immediately afterwards. Play continues with John Conlon, swinging it in and swinging it over the bar. Everything is working like magic right now. John Conlon's got 4 points, Tony Kelly's got 4 points, Peter Duggan's got 12, and Clare are absolutely lording it over the rivals and neighbours from Limerick by 24 points to 15.
And Jerry didn't get a chance in the last few minutes. When Barry Nash came in there, Shane Dowling moved to the middle of the field and Darragh O'Donovan went back as sweeper. It seems that Limerick had no ambition to go forward and attack Clare, and Clare loved this. If you give them space on the ball, you see Podge Collins, Tony Kelly, Colin Galvin, John Conlon, they love this bit of extra space that they're getting, and brilliant play, brilliant teamwork and support play. And as you said, Clare, I said it last Sunday night after the match against Tipperary, it could be just the shackles off them, they're waiting for a big win since they won the All-Ireland in 13. They got it last Sunday against Tip, and absolutely brilliant here now in the second half today.
They're the ones with the momentum. We were wondering whether they would be able to carry it on from Thurles and 7 days ago. They have as the answer. Richie McCarthy all the way back down, dropped. Nash is trying to get in after it for Limerick. They could do it a goal just to give us some kind of a decent finish here. Instead it is Donald Toohey forced in towards the end line there, into a tight corner. Dempsey wins it for Limerick. holds on to it right on the sideline, giving it away eventually to Jamie Shannon. He's played a great match. This man has done a great match as well. Podge Collins. There have been so many stars in the Clare colours, all the way up towards John Connellan. And John Connellan, I'm not sure if he committed the foul there, but certainly Richie McCarthy felt that. Down he went in a heap immediately. And the referee is going to go and speak to him very, very late on, with just a couple of minutes still to play here before we hit some additional time, and a yellow card for John Connellan. Free to Limerick. Dermot Burns straight through the centre. Nobody able to get to it, and it trickles harmlessly out over the end line. Stays at 24 points to 15.
Here's Podge Collins there now. Just got rid of the ball here, and Kyle Hayes just in and nudged him in the back. That was earlier on. And this is Podge playing this diagonal ball into John Connellan. Connellan caught behind, and you see that little flick there across the head of Richie McCarthy, and deserved the yellow card.
So last couple of moments of this match, which had promised a great deal, but in truth Clare were the ones who absolutely lorded it over Limerick for most of the game. They had the bright ideas, they had the bright players, and they had players like John Connellan and also Podge Collins around there to inflict maximum damage. Duggan's waiting. He's got it, Duggan. Oh, well saved by Nicky Quaid. McGrath trickles out over the end line off a Limerick player. It's gone for a 65. Peter Duggan out of luck, but so too Conor McGrath immediately afterwards.
See the piece of skill there from Peter Duggan. He just brought it down the air, and a great save by Nicky Quaid, and Conor McGrath following up. Limerick defended very well, but a brilliant first, and Nicky Quaid brave as ever. And again, in fairness to Dan Morris, he threw himself in front of the ball. Look at this for a touch, just incredible. Duggan has just really blossomed into an outstanding forward this summer, and having a great year and having a brilliant game today.
Mikey O'Neill has just gone on there for Clare. Clare going off, Podge Collins. Well, Peter Duggan is the player coming across here.
I'd say it must be a blood sub.
Yeah, it is, you're right.
Yeah. See the nose there.
So taking over the free taking, this time from a 65, will be Tony Kelly, a past master at that. In 5 previous championship matches against Limerick, he had scored 1-7-4 today. So 111 in all for Tony Kelly in his career against the near neighbours. Clare, who's at college in Limerick, of course, in UL. So central position here to make the position even better for Clare. Perhaps to make it a 10-point game. The locals will be very happy with that, extremely happy with that.
Well, he had a fantastic display against Tip last week. In the first half, he had 5 shots at goal. He only scored 2, hit a few wides. So, you know, that's what happens. He's measured at such high standards. But back today in the second half, just really regained his top form.
5 minutes of additional time. Back to Shane Dowling. All his 4 points have been from frees. This one lobbed across here towards David Dempsey. Kyle Hayes trying to make something of it. He's got Nash there waiting for it as well, Barry Nash. And eventually the referee blows his whistle, gives the free into Limerick. But 10 points adrift at this stage. It's not going to happen for them today. They started this round robin so impressively against Tipperary, and then there were those draws after that.
Dowling left to have a go. It's late in the day, but there's no choice.
Bit of shooting practice for him, bit of defending for the Clare backs. Shane Dowling, who has 10 goals in Championship Hurling, knocked back out by Donald Toohey, rattled back in by Tom Morrissey. That time it was Dempsey, and the crowd going ole and shouting each time there was a block. Dempsey back into the mix towards Nash, and there to try and pick it up was Galvin. That's Ian Galvin, right on the end line, looking to try and swing it away out of danger. Jack Brown, the referee says play on. They do. Carry forward once again by Galvin. in as far as John Conlon. They've weathered the storm, and they've shown a great deal of maturity in the way in which they played this game today, Clare. They've gained and they've benefited throughout this year. Look, a much stronger panel by and large. There's number 30 now, Peter Duggan. So about another 90 seconds still to be played. It's going to be Nicky Quaid who will come to take this one, challenged as he was by Conlon. Back towards Hannon once again. Dan Morrissey. Swinging it in here. Aaron Gillan leaving it for Lynch. Stopped again by Jamie Shanahan. He's one of the heroes down there today. He's had a superb match. Line bowler will be at the end of it.
He was very brave there, Jamie Shanahan. I've mentioned him quite a few times in the second half. I think he's reading and positioning and used to the ball. He made one little mistake, but apart from that, he's been very, very good. And I think he played a hand in creating a lot of the scores by using the ball so well from the half-back line.
Darragh O'Donovan this time not going for the spectacular sideline cut. Linking up with Dowling. They'll try and work a goal maybe, just to put a better gloss on the final scoreline, which we'll be reading in just a moment. Here's Morrissey, well blocked down by Duggan. They way back there. Not just a great attacker, but a fine defender, fine all-round player. Forward here by Ian Galvin for Clare. A push in the back, a foul by Mike Casey, a free in to Clare to round off the scoring perhaps.
Yeah, Jaron, I think if you look at the last few minutes of John Conlon, I was critical of Merlon for not giving a pass, maybe should have given. But the work rate of that man, he started off 50 yards away in the far corner there. He made the run, he gave an option. There was nobody else up front, and he gave an easy option for the ball in. Before that, he was back here, or he chased in Nicky Quaid before that. And here's Dowling with shot, and see Toohey coming out at it, attacking it, more or less saying, come on, do it if you can. Gets a hurl up to it, a full hurl, and blocks it away. But Conlon has led that line brilliantly, and won that free when he had no right. And Peter Duggan, you saw him back blocking the ball in his own goal line a few minutes ago. He's up now to put this over the bar.
He's got 12 points already in this game. The last two were from open play. He's got 13. And the referee has blown the final whistle, and it's a very, very significant victory for Clare against their neighbours from Limerick. They have rattled over the scores, nobody more so than Peter Duggan, who got 110 against Waterford, 15 against Tipperary, 13 this afternoon. He's been really quite superb, and it's a very convincing win by Clare. They have won this match by a total of 11 points. Some win against a Limerick side that so many people were saying we're really going places this time. Well, they will be. We'll be seeing them again in this championship. But the full-time score here in Cusack Park reads Clare 16 points, Limerick 15.
Thank you very much to both Ger Canning and to Michael Duignan. Over in Thurles, Seamus Harnedy scored an absolutely crucial goal for Cork, which saw them come from behind to beat Waterford by 123 to 120. And so what that means is that it'll be Cork and Clare contesting the 2018 Munster Hurling Final, despite the fact that the dominant team up until today in Munster had in fact been Limerick, but they won't be in it. They are still in the All-Ireland series though. That was a bit of a turn-up for the books, was it, Henry?
Not really, no. I think.
Oh no, you predicted Clare. I apologise.
I think it goes to show the one thing about the system has been absolutely brilliant because of the level of games we've got. But it is hard for teams constantly week in, week out. And it was a third week in a row Limerick were going for a big victory again. And I think they put a lot of effort into last week's match to make sure they didn't have to go to Ennis to win to get into the Munster Championship or the qualifiers. So they were very flat, very disjointed display from Limerick. Clare did turn up, and we were saying at half time, could forward score more in the second half, and Clare got 8 points from play in that second half, and that was the difference between the two teams.
When they needed their big men, they stood up. Is it a case of that?
Yeah, they did, you know, and I suppose we shouldn't underestimate the impact of turning around the performance had in Thurles. Like, you could nearly sense the momentum that Clare brought out of Thurles last week. You know, 65 minutes gone, it looked like they were nearly heading out of Munster, and they turned it around, got the goal and the extra few points, and they carried that momentum in today. You know, they were at home. We all know the importance of home advantage, but you know, I really expected a belter today in the Munster Championship. It never really materialised because ultimately Limerick brought their worst performance performance of the whole campaign into Ennis today, and never really threatened in the second half. For 6 points for that team in the second half with 14 men aside was very, very unusual. When you think of the mammoth effort they gave down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh to get back to level it, to draw in the game when they were a man down. So John Kiley has a lot to ponder over today, because they're not gone out of the championship, and I suppose that's the thing. He can take a lot from today, because if he weighs up the full Munster Championship, they've had a good campaign, but today was by far their lowest day. But they're not gone. They go through in third place, and I expect they could find themselves back in the semi-final if they bring the energy they had before today and get the recovery.
I did ask at half-time, I said, we haven't seen much of Tony Kelly, have we? And yet, in the second half, did he make the difference?
Yeah, I must say Mr. Sheedy here beside me did reference and said he can't just pop up, and he was very quiet in the first half. But he was the difference, because when Tony Kelly scores, especially in Ennis, it lifts the whole crowd, it lifts all the players around him, and he was at his best in the second half, driving forward. Here he is getting a great score. He got a lot of ball out here. One score left hand, Michael I think referenced it in the commentary, right-handed, his weaker side over the bar, and he was the difference. And even here, when he didn't panic, because there was a lot of bodies around the place, he didn't panic, he held up the play and played it on to Peter Duggan again, who had a great second half as well. So, you know, he was definitely the difference between the two teams, because Limerick had no one like him. He stood out a mile for Clare today.
OK, and that is why it'll be Clare contesting the 2018 hurling final, thanks to a great performance from Tony Kelly, among several other players, must be said, of the Clare forwards in that second half. It'll be Clare against Cork. That's it from the hurling. Thank you to Liam and to Henry. Next up, we have the Connacht Senior Football Final.
Centra. We are hurling.